Can you believe that Donald Trump, of all people, is the person that is now most associated with the disco anthem, YMCA, by the Village People? What are the odds of that? I would love to know. Out of every bizarre thing that has happened in this society this year and in recent years, Donald Trump being the person who is most synonymous with YMCA, that could be the strangest thing on the entire bizarre bingo card, my friends. Victor Willis, who is in his 70s and is still out there now as the lead singer of the Village People. The guy co-wrote the song, sang the song, and this song, and look, let's face it, this song has become something of an LGBT anthem in some respects. Some of the members of the Village People were gay, YMCA, all of that. And so now it's been co-opted by Donald Trump. And you would think that the Village People might not want to be associated with this, but let's go to this sound on tape and listen to Victor Willis. It sounds like, maybe he's into it a little bit.
Well, if you were to ask me today if Village People would perform at the inauguration, I would probably say not, because we'd be concerned about endorsement. But however, if the president-elect, because the president-elect has done so much for YMCA and brought so much joy to so many people, the song has actually gone back to #1, and it's still #1 today. So if he were to ask Village People to perform the song live for him, we'd have to seriously consider it.
Well, we know he watches, so Mr. President-elect, the ball's in your court.
He says that they'll seriously consider it. Look, this motherfucker's making more money now than he probably has in 30 years. Donald Trump has taken this song and he said it was #1 on the charts. I don't know what charts he's looking at. We don't have Casey Kasem to provide us with guidance anymore in this society. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Shout out there, Super Sky Point, Casey Kasem. But I would love to see it. I mean, an inauguration with the Village People performing? Count me in. Can you believe that the YMCA, they actually sued the Village People at one point? If you're unaware, I tweeted about it in 1979. They threatened to sue them. I don't know if they actually went through with it, but they threatened to sue the Village People because of YMCA being in the song. And as I say here, talk about ungrateful. They put you on the map, motherfucker. You'd be nowhere without the Village People. All that free publicity, ungrateful. That was an injustice. And speaking of injustices, I've said on this program a number of times, where is the far left? You hear in mainstream media so much, the far right, governor, far right senator, far right individual. Well, where is the far fucking left? The mainstream media misses it because the desk that their anchors are all sitting at is located squarely in it. And so they're nose blind to what far left means, and they don't reference it. And I'll have you know that that is objectively true. This isn't my anecdotal opinion, because the Media Research Center has gone in and actually done the numbers. And you know how Democrats like to say, trust the science. They don't live it all the time, but they love to say it. So let's trust the science. Let's look at the facts. Scoreboard. Take a look at this. The PBS NewsHour between June 1st, 2023 and November 30th, 2024. If you're keeping a scorebook at home, that's 18 full months. They found that the phrase extreme right was used on the PBS NewsHour 162 times, and the phrase extreme left was used 6 times. That is a 27-to-1 ratio, my friends. And people wonder what we're complaining about when we talk about liberal legacy media bias. They use the term right wing 33 times. They use the term left wing 6 times. Trump was connected to the word fascist 17 times. The word communist came up only 3 times in relation to Kamala Harris. And they noted that 2 of the 3 times that the word communist was used in association with Kamala Harris, it was to defend her and claim that she was not that. So there's your legacy media. A lot of bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, how many times do you think Barack Obama has been called a far leftist in mainstream media? Barack Obama, speaking recently at a democracy forum, had some cautioning words for his audience about the dangers of people out there who might like to put themselves into power permanently and who might even abuse the judiciary and the criminal justice system.
A permanent grip on power, either by actively suppressing votes or politicizing the armed forces or using the judiciary, the criminal justice system to go after opponents. And in those circumstances, pluralism does not call for us to just stand back and say, well, I'm not sure that's okay. In those circumstances, a line has been crossed, and we have to stand firm.
Well, God forbid that anyone would try to stack the deck. What kind of nefarious behavior would that be? Looking for a permanent grip on power, abusing the judiciary, abusing the criminal justice system. Who knows? They might try to charge their main political opponent with hundreds of felonies in multiple cases. Could you imagine if what if the Republicans did that one day? What if the Republicans pulled the sitting president of the United States out of office and replaced him with someone who never even received a single vote from anybody in their party? That sounds like the kind of thing that Barack Obama is concerned that the Republicans might do. Well, wait a minute. You notice anything strange here? Expanding the Supreme Court. The Republicans, no, wait a minute. These seem to be all things that the Democrats have done. Who are we talking about here? Is he looking into the mirror? It's absolutely crazy to me, the things that the Democrats do, and then they excuse it by saying the Republicans are going to do the thing that we're actually doing right now. And it's so scary that they might do the thing one day, possibly, hypothetically, that we're going to do right fucking now, that we've got to act. And so they end up doing the thing that they're telling us that we should worry about. A permanent grip on power. They wanted to stack the Supreme Court if they could. Joe Biden got dragged out of the Oval Office kicking and screaming over the amazing doctor, America's greatest physician, Jill Biden's dead body. She fought that tooth and nail, but they removed Joe because not even the president of the United States could escape the death grip on power that the machine of the Democratic Party was attempting to have. So Barack Obama out there just talking shit. I have lost so much respect for Barack Obama that he can go out there, a guy that I once admired, a guy that I voted for in 2004 in his Senate race here in the state of Illinois. I voted for him before most of America had ever heard of him. Voted for him in 2008 as well. Thought that he was a statesman. And it turns out he's just as full of shit as anybody and probably more full of shit than most. Let me bring in a man now who could be accused of a lot of things, but being full of shit ain't one of them. I'm speaking, of course, of the international streaming star from Nashville, Tennessee, a man so famous now he's got his own goddamn t-shirt. Not only is your name t-shirts, you now wear your face on your own t-shirt. I don't know, Ron. How much longer is my name going to be on this show? I feel like the momentum behind you right now is pretty unstoppable.
Duped, man. Like, you thought that was a real video? That was clearly an AI fake. There's absolutely
Was that a cheap fake?
Yeah, there's no way that was
another
real.
Dirty Republican trick.
Yeah,
is what that was. That's the kind of thing that they'll do. You know, you got to watch them all the time because they might weaponize the justice system to go after their enemies, and what a terrible thing that would be. Somehow they might actually do that. You know, the guy that just beat him like a drum with 34 felonies on him, like he's, you know, some fucking rap star from the 90s or whatever. You know, it's just so ridiculous to me. And hey, listen, man, keep talking bullshit. Keep talking bullshit because the American public is on to you now. They're on to you. It's not going to be smooth sailing anymore for a lot of the bullshit that's being told, and they're going to have to reverse course, Ron, because if they want to keep running the 2024 campaign, and if they want to run it into 2025, go ahead, have at it, keep doing it. All you're going to do is alienate more and more people. And did you notice the awkward pause there? It was like somewhere within himself, he's like, well, it's on the teleprompter. I guess I got to say it, you know, because he knows, and what he's saying, like if you took his words absent of the context of us knowing what
he
the last
literally described what the left just did.
He just described what he did. I mean, you want to talk about one of the most classic textbook cases of projection that you'll ever see in your life. It's like a narcissist accusing their partner or whatever of all the things that they're actually the one who's guilty of it. If you'll recall, Kamala was on a popular podcast called Call Her Daddy. And, again, this was part of her appeal to young people and trying to be cool. And she had the Beehive and she had the Swifties and, she had all of these celebrities that were endorsing her and all this stuff. I want to go to a little bit of tape that we have here. This is, I believe, Alex Cooper is the name of this young woman. She's the host of the Call Her Daddy podcast, and she's going to tell us a little something about why the Kamala Harris campaign may have ran out of money in a very irresponsible fashion. Let's take a look.
There's a little bit of controversy about that podcast because you did. Do you know about this?
No, what?
Because in D.C., this interview happened in D.C.
Yeah.
In a hotel.
Yeah, not in a hotel. It was like a random house.
It was like random house. But apparently, you can tell me, they spent, the Harris campaign spent like $100,000.
I did see that.
You know about this?
It's hilarious.
To build the studio.
Yeah, that's not true.
Not true. To make it look like it was the studio that you used in L.A.
My studio that is gorgeous in Los Angeles doesn't even cost six figures. So I don't know how cardboard walls could cost six figures, but.
But do you think they did that? I mean, you saw it.
Absolutely not. With love to them. Oh my God, it was gorgeous, but it wasn't that nice. It wasn't like gorgeous marble. No, that was not six figures.
So Ron, in excess of six figures to build a fake set to replicate, if I understand correctly, the set that this woman normally uses on her actual set. What the fuck is even going on here? Remember when Rogan said, I want to interview Kamala, and they're like, well, you got to do it on these terms. You got to come here. They tried so hard to control every tiny thing to try to, for her to not be exposed. But you can do all the window dressing that you want, but if every time your candidate opens her mouth, she says something stupid, or frequently enough, she says something uninformed or stupid, you can't perfume that past a certain point. But that's an unbelievable story to me. $100,000 for the set for a podcast.
Well, it sounds to me like somebody was got a sweet deal, right? Like they hired a friend to do it. Maybe it cost $15,000 to put together, and it was just a little nice little spiff for a friend to do that. But you know, Joy Reid said that she ran an absolutely flawless campaign. So I mean, that's true. And the reason that she didn't win was your fault and my fault, is because we, under no circumstances, would ever vote for a woman. And it's our fault why Kamala lost.
I thought it was white women's fault.
Oh, no.
We're already lost as white males. We're, according to so many people on the left, we're already lost causes. No. Like, we're ogres. We're just automatically misogynist, and we're automatically, going to go Republican, according to some.
No,
but it's white women that they're so pissed at.
Yeah, the Harris playbook.
Any person of color who, remember the whole Joe Biden thing? One other thing here, Ron, sorry to interrupt you, but one other thing. Remember the whole Joe Biden, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black?
Uh-huh.
Remember that?
I do remember.
Can you imagine if a Republican said that? What did the ladies of The View say, I wonder, when Joe Biden made that comment? Can you imagine if Trump had said something like that? Can you imagine the pretend outrage that we would have gotten from Joy Reid, from Sonny Hostin, from Jamel Hill, from Joy Behar, from Whoopi, from all of these lefties? If Trump had said it, it would have been considered the most racist, diabolical. We would have gone back to the very fine people on both sides. It would have been all of that. Joe Biden literally said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. A fucking white career grifting politician. Where's the racism? Isn't it interesting that they see racism everywhere, but when Joe Biden tells black people that they're not black, if they don't think the way that he tells them that they should think, somehow that gets a pass on being racist? Explain that to me.
Yeah, didn't Obama do the same thing? Like, just recently, he said he called out black guys and said, you have to vote for her because she's black and you're black. I mean, something
that's
of that
racist as fuck. I'm sorry to tell anybody that they should vote a particular way because of the color of their skin. That right there is the definition of racism.
Mm-hmm.
It is. To say, hey, you're black, you have to vote this way. You're not supposed to vote because of like what the logic of your brain tells you. You're not supposed to vote the way that you feel that you want to vote based on your morals and your ethics and your reading of the situation, your intelligence, your thoughtfulness. That's all that anybody should vote based on. And to sit there and say, nobody says that to white people.
Right.
It's fucking insulting. It's insulting to any person of color that they should, that their skin should dictate the way that they vote. And it's doubly insulting that it's an old white man saying it to them. It's bad enough when Obama does it, but something about Joe Biden saying it, I think, adds another layer to it. Ron, again, I have said many times, we got to have a return to common sense as the abominable snowman comes up. You're not going to get another show like this, folks. Whether you like it or whether you don't like it, whether you're into this or not, we've got a lot of people that have been very kind and complimentary and who are finding this show, and we're grateful for our audience. But I'm sitting here getting ready to make a very serious point about John Fetterman when I'm interrupted by a fucking tweet that I wrote about that fucking thing. That's not gonna happen on Hannity, my friends. I promise you. I don't know about you, but I am ready for that delightful son of a bitch. Take a look at him. He's a great guy. He had a toothache, didn't he, Ron? Do I remember correctly?
I don't know.
Was that a different episode? I don't know. It's been a long time. But let's talk about John Fetterman, who that guy looks like he could be Fetterman's cousin, if we're being honest. But I've got some sound here. John Fetterman praising Elon Musk. We've said it many times. I say it all the time that we should just let our opinions politically, culturally, and otherwise be based on our logic and what we see and how we observe things, not the party that we're affiliated with. And far too frequently, far too frequently, that's what happens. People look at it and they say, well, as a Democrat, I got to look at it this way. Or as a Republican, Maybe I have to look at it that way. I'm an independent. That's why I say, even though I'm certainly way more in agreement with the Republicans right now, I don't like to affiliate myself with a party simply because I like to be a free agent in terms of thinking for myself. And John Fetterman seems like he might be a throwback to the days when you could actually talk to people that you disagreed with politically in a productive manner. Let's listen.
Do you see yourself ultimately working with folks like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who will be heading?
Yeah, I admire Mr. Musk. He's been involved in very important parts of American society, AI, SpaceX, and other kinds of things. Yes, he's on a different team, but that doesn't make me an enemy. I don't be automatically going to become a critic. It's like, hey. He has made, he's made our economy and our nation better, and our politics are different, and I don't agree with some of the things that he might say, but that doesn't make him, like I said, an enemy.
All right, I'm just going to say it. That man is a good American. I believe that. John Fetterman is a good American. I think he's a guy who thinks for himself, listens to his internal, monologue, and tries to do what he believes is right. And we need more of that. We need more of that, because here's the thing. I disagree with John Fetterman on a number of issues. Okay, I think the party that he's in is profoundly screwed up right now, but I like John Fetterman and I respect him. And doesn't mean I have to agree with him on everything. When he says something that I disagree with, I'll say that. But it doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. It doesn't mean that he doesn't also have some good ideas. It doesn't mean that there aren't places where I could listen to him and learn something. And maybe he could listen to me and he could learn a few things too. That is how we move forward as a country. Ron, we need more of this. The idea, the maturity. And I know that it's a lot to be sitting here and praising a United States senator for exhibiting the maturity of an adult, but that's kind of where we find ourselves in this society, where that is praiseworthy. So for him to sit there and say, hey, look, I disagree with Elon Musk on a lot of things, but Elon Musk has done a lot of good things, and I'm not going to sit here and say that he's a bad guy because we disagree with it. That's the antithesis of all the shit we hear on the left about people who are abandoning family and friends and not going to Thanksgiving because they're afraid that they're going to hear a loved one say something that they disagree with. We got to get past all this being triggered bullshit and, try to find the adults in the room and engage in some serious conversations.
Yeah, the only thing that I would argue with him about what he said is he said that he's not on the same team. And I'd say, John, you actually are on the same team, and that's America. So that was the only thing that I saw from that, is maybe look at that differently. That guy my opinion of him has changed so much since when he first ran for Senate. Like he had just had the stroke, right? And he just seemed, I hate to say this because he had a stroke, but he seemed like an absolute crazy person and completely unfit for that job. But man, in the last year and a half, he has had such a change. And I totally agree with you, Ricky. Is like, it doesn't matter that he's a Democrat and I don't agree with a lot of the things that he pushes. He absolutely seems like a guy that what he says and what he thinks is because it's what he says and what he thinks, not because he was told this is what you need to say and think.
He seems real. Mm-hmm. He seems real, and that's a big
I can
part
respect
of
that,
why
Ricky.
People.
Yeah, I can respect.
That's a big part of the reason why people like Donald Trump.
Yeah,
they sensed, some of the outrageous stuff, but they sense that this guy is not like most politicians, because Donald Trump, sometimes to his own detriment, will go out there and he'll say what he thinks. And I think people found that refreshing. That's how Trump got a foothold in the first place. Now, Ron, while we're heaping some praise on Fetterman here, I've got some more tape for you. This is Fetterman on The View talking about the criminal charges the felonies that Donald Trump was convicted of?
Well, I think it's undeniable that the case against Hunter Biden was really politically motivated, but I also think it's true that the trial in New York for Trump that was political as well too. Now it's that, and in both cases, I think a pardon is appropriate, and I really think collectively, America's confidence in these kinds of institutions have been damaged by these kinds of cases, and we cannot allow these kinds of institutions to be weaponized against our political opponents. And it's very clear both trials were politically motivated and weaponized that on the other side.
All right, let's set the Hunter Biden thing aside for a minute, because that's not even important. That a lot of our viewers right now, I'm sure, disagree with him on that point. But a Democratic senator, United States senator, went on The View, and we all know the core audience of that show, and he said that the charges in New York against Donald Trump, the felony convictions, were politically motivated and a pardon is appropriate. That is a guy who's thinking for himself. Whatever else you want to say about him, that's a man that's thinking for himself. Putting Joy Behar in a pretzel there with that answer. And you know who else liked to put people in pretzels, Ron?
Who, Ricky?
The nature boy, Ric Flair. Take a look at this. That's a woman. I don't know. Speaking of context, Ron, I don't know the context. I say here, normally I would say placing a woman in a figure 4 leg lock is poor social etiquette, but perhaps we should reserve judgment until we hear Ric Flair's side of the story. We don't know what she did, Ron. I don't know. Maybe she had a chainsaw.
She deserved it.
I don't, if Ric Flair in his judgment, Ric Flair known for his good judgment, if Ric Flair felt that a figure 4 was called for there, I at least want to hear his side of the story before I condemn him, Ron. Tyrus on his show has, he's got a wrestler, and you know how I am. I'm a wrestling guy. I know you love Superfly Snuka, but wrestling is one of my old school, particularly. I love the old 70s, 80s, 90s stuff, and probably consume too many podcasts and so forth about it. So I was excited to see that Tyrus has Bully Ray coming up on Maintaining with Tyrus. Have you ever heard of the Dudley Boys, Ron?
I haven't. Sorry.
Well, I wasn't expecting that you had, to be honest. But let's go to the tape. I've always said pro wrestling is an art form. It's an art form. People make fun of it. People mock it. A lot of it is bad. It's like any other art form. It can be done terribly or it can be done in an amazing fashion, right? Any sort of acting. There's horrible TV shows and terrible movies, and then there's great ones. But I've always said, just like there's good music, bad music. But wrestling, when done well, is a beautiful art form. And so here is Tyrus talking to Bully Ray, the former Bubba Ray Dudley in the WWE, about what goes into their craft.
This business has never been about moves. Once you realize that, it's gonna be, but you have to
people
fail.
Can throw a super kick. Whose super kick means something? Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, because no one kicked. Well, I would argue, gentleman Chris Adams, because no one kicked out of his too.
Okay.
But then you have someone as athletic as the Usos who do it. They do it 3 times in a match, or the kids in AEW. The Bucks will do one up top, one on the knee, and it's like
fans are not supposed to care about the move. They're supposed to care about you doing the move. You want their emotional investment. You want them to love you. You want them to hate you, because then you can throw a punch or a super kick and it's not going to matter. The most successful and you know this, the most successful wrestlers, and success is you can only deem success one way in this business. It's the only thing that matters is the cold hard cash, the amount of money you make, the asses that you put in seats. The Hulk Hogan's, the Steve Austins, the Dusty Rhodes, all of the biggest moneymakers didn't do anything.
The best wrestler, I think, what those guys are saying, the best wrestler is the one who draws fans and makes them reach into their pocketbook to buy tickets, to buy merchandise, and so forth. Not necessarily the guy who's flipping around the best or, doing the most visually spectacular moves. And you look at it, Hulk Hogan, there wasn't a lot to it, right? Punches, bear hugs, headlocks, he dropped that leg at the end, but Hulk Hogan was not known for being the most dynamic in-ring performer, but people cared. So, I think we've got a tweet here, a Roddy Piper tweet of mine from a while back that it really speaks to it. Take a look at this, Ron. I said, I knew we shouldn't have brought Mom to meet Roddy Piper. And Roddy Piper, Ron, used to wear a leather jacket, and he would wear it out to the ring, and he actually got it reinforced because he was stabbed multiple times during the course of his career, Ron. Can you imagine making somebody hate you badly enough that you get stabbed by the fans and then you have to wear a leather jacket just to protect yourself?
Sophie Rain made more money on OnlyFans than many of the NBA's biggest stars. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this list right here. Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Edwards. Look at the money that they're making. 42 million for Anthony Edwards, right? In fact, this platform has grown so much that in 2023, OnlyFans content creators earned a total of $6.6 billion, which exceeds the total of salaries earned by the entire National Basketball Association, which was at $4.9 billion, according to Basketball Forever. Ms. Rain says she is a devout Christian and a virgin. So Sophie made $43 million and almost $5 million from Charlie. I guess he might be the horniest man in America, huh?
Well, speaking of horny men, let's go now to the international streaming star. No, Rod, there's no way she's a virgin. Get the fuck out of here. You made $43 million doing sex acts on the internet. There ain't no fucking way she's a virgin. I do not. You got Charlie, is that his name? I'm not on a first name basis with the guy who spent $4 million or whatever, because for people who don't know, she had one almost, somewhere on the order of 10% of her $40+ million haul came from one dude.
There's a way she's a virgin. And more power to her if she is. Because we don't know. None of us have seen it.
Look, I don't know. I don't want to have to read a legal note, Ron. Yeah. Are they going to bring me the Sonny Hostin legal note? It's like Sophie Rain claims that she is a virgin. I have never had sex with her, and I am not aware that anyone else has. I don't. Here, I got a legal note. Made me think of the great Cal Naughton Jr. from Talladega Nights, Ronnie, when he goes in, Ricky Bobby is in the hospital in a bad way, unconscious. Cal comes in and says, there's something I want to get off my chest. I did a full spread for Playgirl magazine. I don't even want to say the rest of it, Ron. He spread his butt cheeks apart as Mike Honcho. Is what happened. I don't know. He made a lot less than $43 million for that Playgirl spread as Mike Honcho. Just hope that it gets into your brain somehow. If you can hear me at all, I just want you to know I pulled my butt apart under the name Mike Honcho. The Sophie Rain of his era. Ronnie.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.